Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sermon with Hyde Park United Methodist Church in Tampa, Florida. I'm Matt Hotho, the Director of Production and Online Engagement, and today I'm joined by
Bernie Leving. I'm the Parish Associate who primarily works with Pastor Sally in congregational care.
Awesome. So, Bernie, you just finished preaching the final sermon in our series on our vision statement. So what's that last part of our vision statement that you were preaching on today?
I really was trying to focus on what it means for us to be engaged as members of the church, using our God-given gifts to make a difference in the world.
Okay. And I think if I recall kind of what you were talking about, I mean, is that idea of using our God-given gifts and discovering what those are.
Oh, yes. You got to find out what they are.
Yeah.
But it's also, Matt, using our natural talents. For example, earlier you were talking with Colleen. I don't sing.
Okay. Right.
That's not one of my talents.
Yeah.
So, but there are those people who are sitting in congregations in here and in the traditional that have that gift.
Yeah.
They need to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Those gifts to make art, make music, that sort of thing.
Right. One of the gifts that I'm seeing that people are using is that group of people who are making cards that we send as a church to people who are dealing with difficulties in their lives, maybe hospitalization or another sickness or even a death.
Yeah.
And they make those cards. And the art that they use is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's really impactful to have something like that has the care put into it. Growing up, the church I attended, Anona United Methodist, they would make prayer quilts.
Oh, yes.
And I think they've made over 1,000 of them at this point.
Yes.
But the quilts were quilted by our quilters. And then in each square of the quilt, they had pieces of string where members of the congregation could then go up to the quilt when it was in the hallway, tie a knot in that string and say a prayer for that person, right? And so there was a tangible way for the art that the person had created to then be connected with the gift of prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have people in our church today who are making the prayer shawls.
Yeah.
They're knitting or crocheting, whatever skill they use to do that they give then to Pastor Sally. We bless them, and then they are given out to people who are in need of just knowing that the church is there for them.
Yeah. That's really cool. So Bernie, in the sermon, you were talking about spiritual gifts.
Yes.
And you shared what your top three spiritual gifts are.
My top three are healing, teaching, and faith.
Okay. And I think anybody who knows you could see that those are very evident in your ministry and in your work, especially in caring for people, the spiritual gift of healing, teaching in your preaching and in your pastoring, and then faith, just a deep faith that's been abiding within you since you found your call to ministry.
Right.
Which, if anybody wants to hear about Bernie's call to ministry, his first Beyond the Sermon that he did with me, we got his whole call story on tape.
Yeah.
But so a couple of things about spiritual gifts that I kind of just want to unpack.
Okay.
For anybody who's listening who maybe this is a foreign idea for them, or they're new to Christianity and that kind of thing. Spiritual gifts are an idea that Paul talked about, I believe.
Yes.
In one of his letters in the New Testament, and he listed them. But then I think modern Christianity figured out a way to make them a rubric where you can kind of take a test and figure out which ones are yours, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Paul had scantrons
he did not,
that he was having the early apostles do, right?
Right.
It was more of a sense of we can see these fruits, these things within you in your ministry, right?
Yes.
So before spiritual gift tests were a thing, did you have a sense in some ways as to what your gifts were for ministry?
I think one of the ones I would say that I most recognized was that third one that I mentioned, which is faith.
Yeah.
That I started with when I was 12 years old. When, as I like to say, I responded to a preacher's invitation to give my life to Christ. And I don't know whether I ought to say this, but it was his sermon that night was not about the love of God. What he basically did was scare the hell out of me.
Okay.
And that's why I went forward, because I did not want to have to deal with what he talked about.
Yeah. Okay.
So that moment started that journey of faith. And I had just an amazing group of people who helped me build my faith in those last years that I was at home before I graduated from high school and went off to college. But Sunday school teacher and youth workers. Those people just did an amazing job of helping me develop a faith life.
Yeah. And so you're already starting to kind of pull out those people who are responding to God's call on their lives.
Yes.
To give their gifts to ministry, to make an impact on your life. Right. Sunday school teachers, youth workers. As I think about my life, you're right. There are many what we would just glibly call a volunteer.
Yes.
Who have said, I'm going to give up Sunday evenings to serve in the kitchen at the youth ministry, who had big impacts in my life.
Yes.
People who just said, I'm going to give this time to do this.
Yeah. It's interesting that you use that as an example, because I'm doing, I'm doing a memorial service tomorrow. And one of the gifts of the person whose life we're celebrating is that back in the day when the church kitchen was over in Knox Hall, Knox Hall, and the fellowship hall was there. As one of her gifts, she was a great cook. And if there was a reception after a funeral or memorial service, she prepared the food.
That's really cool.
That was her gift.
Yeah.
And that's what she gave.
That's right. And I think hospitality is a spiritual gift.
Well, it is.
Okay, cool.
Hospitality is one of the spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's for sure.
Yeah.
It is.
But spiritual gifts are so interesting where you almost know it before you see it. Or you see it and you don't need it systematized. Right? Like someone like Carol, right? You just look at her and I would imagine as you're describing her story, I go, wow, like she was living out of a gift she had.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I see it in people all the time. And they don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize that it is the joy that's coming to them is what it comes out of using that gift.
Yeah.
The two women I talked about in the end of my sermon, one of them said to Jim Harnish, and I try to quote, but I'm not probably quite getting it, but said, in this ministry, the Caregiver Sanctuary, I am finding great joy.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So I think maybe even Jim said this or someone else said this at some point where your calling is at the intersection of your gifts and great need.
Yes.
Or something like that.
And the world out there, yes.
Yeah. And I think that there's also an element of that is joy. Your calling is at the intersection of your giftings, the things that bring you joy, and the deepest needs in society. And wherever that Venn diagram just sort of lands.
Yes.
When you find yourself doing that thing that you want to go back and do it the next day, and you want to go back and do it again, and being asked to do it is not a burden for you.
Right.
That's almost better than any multiple choice test.
Yes.
To figure out what your spiritual gifts are.
Yes. Yeah. And there are people that I've asked to do something and would say, Bernie, thank you.
Yeah.
I really have been waiting on somebody to say something to me about doing that.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah. And it's really cool because then those people get to deepen their faith. To go back to the scripture in some ways, the Matthew text from Matthew 25 that rooted your sermon. the beauty and the tragedy in that scripture text is the person who took their talents and did something with it. And talents in this story is money, not literal like talents, but in some ways there's almost an interesting allusion that you can make there, right?
Yes.
Of the person who went and used their talent such that they got something back for it.
Yes.
Was more sort of praised and got something from it than the person who took the talent that they had, even if it was small, and was so scared that something might happen that wasn't good,
Yes.
that they were afraid to use it. Yeah.
And buried it.
Yeah. And I think there's many people in the world, maybe in the church and maybe even listening to this right now, who have a talent that they're afraid to use.
Yes.
Whether because they don't know how it could be beneficial or they're afraid of what it might require of them if they have to use it. But I think the charge from this sermon would be, give it a shot. Use that talent.
Yes, absolutely. Give a call to people here in the church like Hyde or Sarah, those people, John Borello, people who are leading areas of ministry that only can be working when people respond to the use of their gifts and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Bernie. And thank you all for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Sermon. We will see you back next time. If you want to connect more with our community, by the way, we're getting into our fall events and that kind of stuff. You can go to our Next Steps page and find out about upcoming events like our pet blessing, which Bernie, you'll be at for the pet blessing.
Oh, yes.
And okay, real quick. The pet blessing is happening on October 4th, which is also the feast day of
St. Francis of Assisi.
And I hear you're a bit of a St. Francis freak.
Not just a bit of. I am a big St. Francis.
Cool.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's another sermon that Bernie did in our series on famous prayers, where Bernie unpacked the prayer of St. Francis. And you can go back and watch that as well. But if you want to connect with our community through events, through small groups, that kind of stuff, go to our Next Steps page. You can find out all about that. Till then, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.